So we got a lot to hit on, but let's talk about the Niners and the Browns. The 49ers are undefeated. A lot of people think that one of these games, like this, could be a trap game. Like they had a big emotional national TV win over the Cowboys, and they may be flat for this game. Stefanski, the head coach of the Browns, though, his record as a favorite is 20-10. His record as an underdog is 8-17. This is a big spread. How do you see this game, Niners Browns in Cleveland?
Yeah, this is a game that really favors the 49ers, across the board, with the exception of their offense against the Browns defense. But there's so much about this Browns offense that really favors the 49ers and their defense. A lot of times when I look at these games and I'm trying to make a prediction on what I think is going to happen, one of the main things I look at is the quarterback matchup. And that heavily favors the 49ers in this one. No Deshaun Watson, PJ Walker, is that his name?
Yep.
The quarterback for the Browns, who it looks like they're going to be starting him over the rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson. This is a guy who 7 starts in his career, and he's thrown a lot more interceptions than he has touchdowns. That plays into the 49ers' favor. No Nick Chubb. The Browns want to run the ball, but they don't really have a running back that can do that. So everything about this game from the 49ers defense against the Browns offense heavily favors the 49ers.
Yeah, no question about it. Cleveland's run game is not the same now that they've lost Nick Chubb, and they've only had 2 games since Chubb went out, and both of those games they ran for under 100 yards. And if you look at what they did before that, they were running for well over 100, in some cases almost 200 yards. So they're going to be leaning on guys that aren't anywhere close to Nick Chubb. I mean, Jerome Ford is a nice player at Cincinnati. Kareem Hunt is in the twilight of his career. Pierre Strong has got some speed, kind of runs upright. But I think the Niners really, they're fortunate here. They're missing Deshaun Watson. He's out. Joel Bitonio is the Browns' best offensive lineman, the left guard. He's out with an injury. That means that, Javon Hargrave is going to have a really favorable matchup, you would think, inside. And then I just really like the Niners' defensive line to dominate here. Dawan Jones, the rookie out of Ohio State's huge, but now you get Bosa and Gregory and Jackson and Farrell. Jedrick Wills has struggled, former first-round pick out of Alabama. I think the Niner defensive line dominates in this game. How do you see that matchup, Niner D-line against the Browns O-line?
Yeah, that's a matchup that heavily favors the 49ers, especially with the injuries that the Browns have up front right now. Batonio being out, like you mentioned, there's a possibility. I think the center, I don't know if you've heard whether Pocic is going to play or not, but if he's not able to go, that's one that really favors the 49ers. So, you mentioned it, Nick Bosa up against DeJuan Jones. That favors everything about that matchup on the offense for the Browns against the 49ers really favors the Niners. And I do think that they can take advantage of not having Batonio in there. That favors, Eric Armstead's been really good this year. Javon Hargrave has been excellent. You put those two in the middle against a backup guard, I think you get a lot of wins there. And then, anytime you get a rookie up against Nick Bosa, that's usually a win for San Francisco as well. So it really seems like this is one that sets up well for their defense to get all over PJ Walker and make some trouble in the backfield.
Bay Marin says, I'm here to listen to how Larry says Sione Takitaki. It's a great name, Sione Takitaki. He's their third backer. It's they go with like kind of a 4-2-5 as their base with Greg Newsome as a nickel. The reason the Browns are so good is you have Myles Garrett at right defensive end. He's as good as any defensive end, including Nick Bosa. You got Zadarius Smith, the former Viking and Packer, who's at the left defensive end spot. They got a true two-gapper inside in Dalvin Tomlinson. Shelby Harris, the former Seahawk, is a tremendous interior rusher. So that's their front four. On the second level, you got Anthony Walker and JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And those guys can really run, though I think you can pick on them in pass coverage. And then, on the back end, I mean, Denzel Ward is a phenomenal corner. Martin Emerson is, a really good player as well, third-round pick out of Mississippi State, I believe. Greg Newsome is their nickelback. He's one of the better nickelbacks in the league. And then they have Grant Delpit and Juan Thornhill, the former Chief, at the safety spot. So they kind of go with a 4-2-5 as their base. Sometimes they'll take one of those defensive backs off the field and go to Sione Takitaki. But, the one thing that's interesting, I'm looking at some of the numbers. Cleveland's opponents have only 6 red zone attempts, fewest in the NFL. And their opponents convert only 22.6% of their third downs, I'm not sure if that's third downs, but that's the lowest percentage in the league. And Kyle is 1-8 against Jim Schwartz. How much do you think that Schwartz has the secret to beat Kyle? I mean, when you see Kyle, who's had nothing but success in the NFL, looking at a 1-8 record against Jim Schwartz-led defenses, what do you think Schwartz does that slows him down? Is it just simply that, they have the wide nine and the wide nine is bothers Kyle's offense? What's your theory?
Yeah, I think that's one of the big ones is that wide nine. I think that's partly why Kyle Shanahan wanted to bring the wide nine to San Francisco, right? He didn't do it until 2019. He brought that over, I think, in some part because he realized what he was going to be going up against. He was dealing with it within his own division against the Los Angeles Rams, and the Rams were the number one team that they needed to beat. So that's one of them. He also has a number of people across the league that are starting to adapt his style, his system. So there's a lot of outside zone. That's one piece of it. And then, beyond that, Jim Schwartz is a really good defensive coordinator. He's been really good everywhere he's gone. And to me, this is the one matchup for the 49ers that I think, obviously the 49ers offense against the Browns defense, that's a positive for them. But you look at this 49ers offense against the Browns defense, and now you're looking at a real matchup. I think this could be a problem for San Francisco. You look at the numbers, right? You mentioned it. I talked about it. I put that tweet out earlier this week, the 1-8, the fact that in their 9 games against each other, Kyle Shanahan's offense has only averaged 15.8 points per game. You look at the Browns this year, they're allowing only 196, right around there, 196 yards per game. They just held the Tennessee Titans to under 100 yards in a game 3 weeks ago. And they're a tough defense. And then the only team that's really beat them and really put numbers up against them was the Baltimore Ravens. And a lot of that was because they have a running quarterback who was able to make some things happen with his legs and different things like that. So it was just a little bit of a different style. I think the 49ers could really struggle here against this defense early on. I think that if the 49ers defense goes out and dominates the way we think they will, I think in the second half you'll see the 49ers maybe able to take advantage, but it's gonna be a grind. That's 100%. But the thing with Cleveland, you got the wide nine, but Kyle Shanahan talked about, they attack, right? They're an attacking defense. They play very similar to what the 49ers do. They're very similar defenses in the way that they attack you. And so I could see this being an issue for them.
I already know how I'm going to wager on this game. I'm going with the 49ers on the teaser to the under. That's how I see this game. The spread in this game is Niners minus 9.5, 10 in some spots. Does that sound right? Is that about what you're thinking? And I just think that seems like that seems a little high. That seems a little high just because, I do think it could potentially be a blowout, but if I was betting it and hedging a little bit, I would probably go with the 49ers and tease that down to 49ers minus 2 or something like that. And then the total is, let me look at the total here. The total's 36, which is a really low total. I would tease that down. I would tease that down to 29 or whatever and go tease that up, I should say, to 42 and go under. I just really think that it's potentially a low-scoring game, and I like the 49ers. Cleveland's got the number one total defense. They got the number one pass defense, and yet the Browns, I don't see with P.J. Walker lighting up this 49er defense. Niners are the best turnover team in the league. The Browns are 29th in turnover differential at -7. So I could see, and then with wet conditions, possibly, I could see it being a little bit lower scoring, but the 49ers winning.